we're here to discuss the future of work and digital skills. So Digify Africa is on a mission to reduce youth unemployment, and they're doing this by equipping young people with skills which are necessary for them to get a sustainable livelihood out of a digital economy. So we're speaking about web marketing, we're speaking social media advertising, data analytics, and all the important skills that are relevant for the young people to position themselves for an income on a global scale. Digify Africa is doing this in partnership with a couple of key clients, from the Rockefeller Foundation to the British High Commission and Meta as well. So if learners want to get themselves these skills, there's a discussion happening here with a panel of experts, and eventually, of course, you can check out the website online to see if you are eligible to enroll in this 10-week intense program of digital skills. So welcome to Biashara Tuesday. Let's have a look at what the experts have to say.
This conversation around digital skills and the future of work. And as we get started, I want to give you an opportunity to introduce what you do. I only mentioned your names, introduce what you do, and let us know your first or introductory remarks around the future of work.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Juliet Gateri, founder of Alternate Doors Consulting. We are a HR and recruitment firm. We've been now in the industry 11 years. We just passed by like that, 11 years. In terms of the future of work, I'm here to learn from the experts, but I'll also share my experience in the kind of skills that employers are looking for, both locally and internationally, and where the gaps are and what we can do to make sure that those gaps are filled. So I'm excited to be on this panel.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Beatrice Njerane. I'm the regional manager at ESCINI East Africa. ESCINI is a programmatic ad tech. Now, when I say ad tech, you obviously think digital space, digital marketing, anything digital, I'm sure, even if you don't understand the term. So generally what we do is digital advertising, serving ads online on top sites and apps, and many innovative things. So when I think about the future of digital and workspace, I obviously think digital first. I want to believe in each and every organization there's an opportunity for digital to grow. And maybe without even knowing it, we are already doing it indirectly. Whether you're a HR practitioner, whether you're a banker, whether you are an accountant, you're already doing digital marketing, quote unquote, or digital work indirectly without knowing it. So I hope we'll be able to shed more light on this as we go along.
My name is Sandra Boyole. I'm the regional PR manager at Bolt. I know you all know Bolt, or at one point have used it. So I lead the PR and public relations for Bolt, and not just Bolt, but Bolt Foods and Bolt Business, which is not only in Kenya, by the way. We cut across Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, Tunisia, and we are expanding across other markets. Big business, I must say, very competitive, as you may know, and has its challenges, but I guess that's the exciting bit about ride-hailing. When I think of the future of work, I'm thinking technology, definitely. The future of work will be technology-led. It will be very dynamic, and by dynamism, I mean not only technical skills as we used to know it, but definitely soft skills are some of the skills that people are looking for right now, leveraging technology as opposed to what it was before. So I'm thinking of future of work being very dynamic, very technology driven, but also soft skills are now one of those hot cake kind of aspects that people are looking for. I'm hoping to delve more into this as we continue to say.
Good evening, guys. I'm grateful to be here, so happy to be here. My name is Eric Wilson Ofula. I'm the head of marketing for Brighter Monday East Africa. And as I listen to my fellow panelists, I couldn't help but get excited, because whatever they're describing and whatever they do serves as a testament of tech and how it impacts our lives. Because trust me, each of these panelists has impacted my life directly in one way or another. Juliet, you actually interviewed me some time back. So I'm very, very excited to be with you in this panel. Very, very grateful. Of course, I've used Eskimi before as a digital marketer, and you know, it has saved my neck from the boss's noose several times, and I came here using Bolt. Eh? Alright, so that's the future of work. You can see how it has made, tech has made the world very, very compact, and how each of these three individuals has actually impacted my life very, very positively until now I'm seated here. Yeah, thank you.
KCPE and KCSE. The KCPE results have just been released yesterday, and KCPE students or high school students have just finished their KCSE. If you were to advise them, now they're thinking about their career and the future, which do you think, or which skills would you advise them to pursue as they start their journey into their career? What do you think are the most important skills, Juliet?
At the moment, I would look, so if somebody has finished their KC, the last one is KCSE, yeah. So if somebody has finished their KCSE, I would really encourage them to get a technical based skill. Because right now, you're not looking at only working in Kenya, you're looking at global. And the easiest way you can get somebody globally to give somebody in Kenya a role is a technical skill. And these skills, you really don't have to go to university for 4 years. You can now start growing your skill slowly. Actually, that is the first skill I would advise anyone who's finished the KCSE to take up.
Thank you, Beatrice.
So for me as a CBC parent, I'm actually blown by the opportunities we have in terms of technology. I was just telling my friend and my new friend how my child is already using Minecraft, and literally she knows how to navigate everything, move, build, and it's mind blowing. So I want to imagine for these people who just finished, we are in 2023, she's only 6 years old. They need to be upbeat in terms of their future, in terms of technology, in terms of digital, in terms of transformation, in terms of product innovation, in terms of, software engineering and all things technology. Why? Because where the world is going today, I want to believe, in school we were taught that media is convergent. I didn't understand that then. But now it makes sense how everything on traditional media has come to digital and has gone beyond what we imagined now to AI and so on. So they need to be futuristic. They need to think beyond technology today to what the future holds and blow us out of our minds, literally, because that's where the future is going.
Thank you. Sandra.
Oh, I have a lot to say about this, but I think for me, when I think of KCP, KCSE, and anyone even before that, the number one skill I would think of that you could use to leverage the current technology world that we are in would be problem solving. I think any person who has been in tech or not will attest the fact that even when you go to interviews, I think the first question you ask, what problem are you coming to solve? What gap are you coming to fill? So I think the capability to solve a problem within the space you're in, whether in tech or not, is a great skill, and it starts at a very young age, right? Just that how, what you're talking about Minecraft, it's a problem solving skill because you're developing the child's brain into being able to solve a problem. If you're in high school, if you're in college, or even if you've finished, anytime, I think even at work myself, anytime I think of my challenges, I think, what problem am I solving? I think I would also want to add, and it's not young for the young people to really start thinking critically. I think critical thinking is also very important right now. Over and beyond what we know work used to be when some of us started interviewing, and now I think the skills, especially someone who has been in tech like myself, having been at Bolt, Sandy, and all other tech companies, I would think problem solving, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and lastly, I would say right now, I don't know if all of you know what the new gold is right now in the technology world. No, data. Data is the new gold, and if data is the new gold, then data analytics is important. So, case in point, if you're in high school or just finished KCPE, data is still important because you're trying to derive things out of information. How do you get all this information and turn it into data, or information that somebody can use to solve a problem? So I would marry data and problem solving into one, and I think it's one of those critical things that if you want to survive in tech or you really are passionate about getting into the tech world, I think those are the things we should be encouraging our young ones to start thinking about. Critical thinking, how do you utilize data and how do you solve a problem in wherever space you're in.
Plus technical skills. Yes, Eric.
Martin, they have said what I wanted to say. I think, especially for the younger generation, we should encourage them to, at least put their phones down, right? It's becoming a concern, and when you talk to tutors and also employers and recruiters, right? And I'd like to echo what Sandra has said. There are some critical skills which are missing, and that's definitely creativity, right? And problem solving. As we grew up and we were making our own toys. I mean, Martin, if you remember, Ile Gariawaya, that's creativity. Like where did these guys in America, these guys who let's say invented vehicles, the Fords and all that start from, right? It's something that is nurtured from actually a very, very young age. Instead of guys just being hooked up on their phone, especially this younger generation, try and create your own fun without necessarily being in front of a phone or a computer. So, problem solving, creativity, be analytical. I think it's very, very crucial. Someone had said something about emotional intelligence, right? From a very young age, we'll know our place in the society and how to interact with others and how to get our way, right? So we won't be stuck somewhere playing video games, right? True? These things are not there, okay? So it's something that there's actually a gap when you look at guys joining employment right now, right? And the issues around Generation Z, right? But definitely it's a gap that can be closed. It's a gap that they can exploit. And those things are very, very crucial, not just in the world of tech, but in any world, because I'd say that, sometimes initially I'll call myself a digital marketer, but I'm not a digital marketer in reality. I'm a marketer in a digital world. So the world is becoming digital. So how do you live with technology without losing your humanity?
The gaps would be what you said, emotional intelligence, open communication, and even with us millennials and we have the baby boomers, how do you have open feedback, open communications with the current Gen Z who have been born, with digital? How do we have that upward, downward feedback? How do you even manage downward? How do you manage up? Actually, what I see with, the current generation is how the skills of how do you manage up, social skills, emotional intelligence, because yes, you may come with all the knowledge, but when you think of the workplace, especially a very fast-paced technology company, we are not just looking at, you being a data analyst or you being a computer scientist. When you come in, how are you helping us with that, how are you communicating with different people internally? Because I'm a PR person, I'm not a data analyst, right? How do you help me, use that data? How do you communicate that? Emotional intelligence, social intelligence, managing upwards. How do you manage your bosses? How do you manage, these people, patience, open feedback, immediate feedback, and Martin, that is just not only for, them, even for us. It now also changes the dynamic and it changes the game for someone like me. If I'm getting a Gen Z on board, then how do I manage downward? How do I, meet them halfway? Because most of these people are into flexi working, remote working. They want to feedback you immediately as a leader, and we need to be very open to that. Open communication, quick feedback, immediate feedback, and just leveraging how tech savvy they are to help us solve our problems.
Wow, managing your bosses, managing upward. Beatrice, Julius talked about technical skill, and you're in the marketing and advertisement space. What are the opportunities for digital marketers, especially with the digital skills, especially the young people that have just gone through training and they're looking for opportunities? What are the opportunities that you're seeing coming up, and what are the gaps?
Awesome question, Martin. I know when we started, most of us here have more than 12 years of experience in digital. And literally, there was nothing like digital marketer, digital specialist. They're like, who is that? Those are just terms that came to be, I think, recently in the last 4 or 5 years. So there are many opportunities. For example, we have social media marketers, people who come up with content creators. Recently, we have bloggers, we have influencers, micro and mini influencers. These guys, I remember when I was back at the agency a few years ago, getting an influencer was a very weird thing. I imagine telling Sandra that I am proposing influencers on my campaign plan, and she'd be looking at me like, Betty, are you serious? And this is a real job today, and there are people being paid a lot of money to content create, to be influencers, to be bloggers, to be vloggers, and so on. And there's an opportunity, and there is no one who actually taught them to be influencers. They just taught themselves. Literally, we didn't have to go to school to be digital marketers. I believe, for me, the only course I did was Digital for Africa. I know you know them. Many years ago, that's the only course I did. But now we have more opportunity. We have mentorship as well. So if you're, stepping out of college and you're wondering what next, you can also create your own opportunity in terms of, I like what she said again, what solution are you coming to offer? And I believe for us to be where we are is because we offered a solution. I saw a gap. When I joined agency back then, I was a project manager. Yeah, there was no account management in agency at that specific time. So I saw a gap. And then you go on Google and you're like, agencies in the world. And then they give you a list of opportunities of what you can do. So then account managers were born. Then there was, okay, so you've done account management for 4 years. Now you can graduate to the next thing. Then you become an account director. Then you move on to being a GM of an agency, something that wasn't there before. So those are some of the opportunities you have. So look boldly, look around your organization as a person and see where are the gaps. For instance, if it's HR, if you feel like there's a delay in getting out stuff, can you be a product innovator of, HR things, right? So it's just looking at opportunities within organizations, not just to say these jobs that have already been put there, like digital marketers, bloggers, and so on, is the only thing. There's an opportunity to also create space for yourself and even a title. I believe we did that, and so far now people are hiring digital managers and specialists across the board.
Content creators. The other day at State House, the president said that some of the content creators earn more than the president. And Eric, I know you deal with some of these on-demand skills, and some of them are getting employed. How are the opportunities like? Are they employed or paid like any other employee? Are they getting remunerated like any other employee? How do you manage the different, especially the bloggers, the content creators, the community managers? And what are the things that you look for?
Of course, something that really gets me excited is something called reverse mentorship. And sometimes it actually happens at work, right? Where these guys come in and let's say you're an old school marketer and they change the game by what they do, right? So they're a little bit bold and they say, look, let me create for you guys a social media platform. And you start seeing inquiries coming through that platform and you're like, hey, this thing is making a lot of sense, right? So it all boils down to what do you want to achieve, right? So there's something that Coca-Cola does. They usually put 70% of their marketing budget on what works, 20% on what works for others, but they don't do it, and then 10% on what no one has ever done before. All right. So it's quite holistic, if I may say, and quite experimental. So a lot of companies need to adopt that. They need to embrace change, right? And of course, look at the trends, right? And that follows that when you adopt strategy that is outside what you usually do, right? Of course, you have to look for skills. I think my fellow recruiter is here. And when you're making plans and budgets, most people don't plan for skills. But skills is very, very important. People who's going to execute your plan, right? So you need to build a pipeline for the right skills, and also you need to equip your team with the right people, right? And if this means that it's the content creators, because those are the guys who are making change, right? Then you have to bring them on board and then absorb them into your work policy, right? So that means that you have to treat them like any other person, very, very fairly. Initially, like Sandra said, like this thing, it wasn't taken very, very seriously. But given the impact that it's creating, we're seeing now, like you said, influencers are being paid quite a bit, and brands are starting to take them very, very seriously. Because again, they are showing that traditional media is not working. It's not as productive as it used to be, right? I mean, most employers will have no choice but to adapt this new age of doing things, and of course, it goes with all the HR policies and remunerations that come with it.
Thank you. Juliet, you talked about technical skills, and Beatrice has talked about the technical skills within marketing. But I know there are more skills, technical skills that come to digital. What are the skills that are on demand, especially in the market, and what are employers looking for?
Okay, I'll look at it in Kenya. I believe in Kenya, when you look at the sub-Saharan region, we're a bit more advanced. So even other countries are looking up to us in terms of the skills that we have. So if I look at currently the on-demand skills that are currently there in terms of digital, I think Betty has already mentioned a couple of them. I'll mention the pain points that we have as recruiters, and we can't find that skill. And we even have to go out of our way to, sweet talk somebody. So one of them is media buying. That's a really critical skill that there are not too many people in the market who have that. The other skill I won't touch on, on the digital side, I've struggled a lot on media buying. On the technical side, in Kenya we have very good developers, but in the market, people mostly, they are generalized. So somebody is a full stack developer. There was a company in the US and in Germany, they wanted to recruit Kenyans to work for them. But there are some niche skills that we were lacking. So we are very good at being generalists, but there are some skills globally that we are missing out on. I liked what Betty said as well, like she went and Googled globally. So I would also urge people, Google global skills so that you can be on top of, on top, like you can be on top of the market, like you're number one. So for example, if I'm a graphic designer, there's another role we were recruiting for as a graphic designer, but it was a US-based company, and they wanted like global people. So it was a graphic design, it was 3D, so they needed some niche skills, which, to be honest with you, the whole of Africa, nobody had that skill. So I would, if I'm a graphic designer, I would go to those like global companies, see what they're recruiting and those skills, and now start training myself. So I would reverse engineer and look at global skills, and then now come back and ensure that I tap into that market, so that I'm not just a Kenyan resource, but I'm a global resource. Yeah.
Thank you. If you're seated here and you're listening to this conversation, you are an expert. Anybody who can access the internet, we learn every day. And I want to urge you, if you have any questions, start writing them down. We'll be coming down to you so that we can have a great conversation. Make a contribution to this conversation. Now, Eric, I know there are so many people that you've been employed, you've worked for 10 years, and everyone is talking about digital skills. What can these people do? How can you advise such a person who is already employed, they pursued a certain course, and now everyone is talking about the digital skills?
Yeah, thank you, Martin. I didn't see that question coming, despite me sitting right next to you. I was trying to squint my eyes and try to figure out what you're going to ask me. But look, people always sit in careers, right? Especially, and this is in the Kenyan context, especially people in their mid-30s. Why? You're more stable, right? You want to experiment, you want to find out new things. Now you want to really follow your passion, right? And most people actually land the first job that they get. And then after 10 years, you have learned the landscape, you have navigated, you are seeing opportunities. Perhaps whatever you have is not paying very, very well. You need to adapt, so that you can get a bigger bump in your raise. So it's not unusual, and it's very, very normal. But something about tech skills is that it's one of the easiest skills actually to learn, right? So there are lots of career switches. I was talking to some guys at Moringa School, and you find that a lot of people who are doing their courses are actually guys who don't have a tech background, right? And they give it a term as career switches. And some of those courses are really, really short. But the thing is that they can actually enable you to fit in that whole matrix of a future fit employee, especially in any organization. Because most organizations these days are adapting technology. Hey, you don't want to be left out, right? So it's something which is again really, really possible. There's a term I've mentioned here, reverse mentorship. So if you are on the other side of 35 like me, right, you can look for someone who's younger and go to them like, hey, how do you do this? I do that all the time, even with those guys who are serving under me, because they have that propensity and they tend to absorb things much faster. So as much as I'm working with them, I'm also learning from them. So open the communication channels, be curious. There's a lot of material, definitely online. Learn to know where to get these resources. And if that will depend, of course, with your style of learning. If you're an in-class person, sign up to some of these schools. We've got Moringa, short courses, etc. If you're someone who's more into mentorship, well and good. If you're someone who does on-the-job training, talk to your boss, right? And tell them, look, I want to find out, I want to job shadow someone for quite some time so that I can be able to adapt that skill. So don't be afraid, go for it.
comment around?
Well, I think I would, having worked at tech companies, and I'll be very biased towards what I'm about to say. And if there's anything else you will leave out this room with, as someone who perhaps wants to work for a global tech company, I would say, Martin, would be honestly data. Like when I think of what everyone here has said, I'm thinking that data is still king. So when it comes to digital, I would say any career you want to take from a digital perspective, whether it's product, if you want to be a product developer, if you want to be a data analyst, if you want to be a digital marketer, because even digital marketing, it's grand, like you said, but within digital marketing, we have performance marketing, right? For you to be a performance marketer, you're basically working with data. For me to be a PR person now, I'm not just PRing, I have to really work with data to inform my PR decisions as well. For me to be a marketer in general, it's not just me coming up with billboards and whatever. At the end of the day, people want to see ROI, return on investment. For you to be able to do that, at the end of the day, it's all about data. How are you able to actually analyze data? And I would say whatever you do and whatever space you want to get into, whether it's product, whether it's marketing, whether it's digital, whether it's development, whatever the case might be, whether it's media even, whether it's politics, I think it all narrows down to data in my opinion. And I've looked at all these tech companies, and I know at the end of the day, the one question they want to find out even as they talk to you is, yes, you are a very good, stack developer, like you said, or you're a very good media buyer, or you're very good at doing digital ads and performance marketing. But are you able to use that data to make informed decisions that will at the end of the day give me return on investment as a company? Because me as a company, I'm coming in, yes, I'm right hailing and whatever, but at the end of the day, it all narrows down to bottom line, right? How are you able to use that data to coerce your leaders or to coerce the decision makers up there that, look, I'm a data analyst, based on the data I have seen, I think we can solve this particular problem. So if nothing else, I think in the digital skill set that anyone needs, I think, whether you are into digital or not, I think data is king. And whether you are doing social sciences or you're doing mathematics, we all need to really get with the program when it comes to data analytics, in my opinion.
It's about data, analytics, and after you've done your analytics, generate insights, and then make informed decisions. That's what data is about. Now, there is something very interesting that I've seen in different communities, different WhatsApp groups, and people like Eric here who are 35 and the other side are struggling with the Gen Z at the workplace. Juliet, how do we deal with that? How do we manage Gen Z?
I don't know. I feel we are making it a very, big issue. But these are people who are entering into the job market. So the things that even us, I'm a millennial. Yes, I'm a millennial. So, so the things, because there's a time people used to complain about millennials, but it's because they're just entering into the job market, and it's the way we were raised. So we were raised differently. So I forgot to mention, I'm also a clinical psychologist, and the Gen Z people I manage, like you can see, it's something that their parents, instilled in them. So they're always winners, there's no number last. So and so when they come to the workplace, they come with the same mentality. So they're here to stay with us. So it's for you as an employer or work colleagues or supervisors or managers to just understand them and then take them as they are. I don't think they're a problem, you just have to understand. Some of us are their parents, and you are the ones who instilled some of the things we are seeing. So I think for me what I've seen is, I'll mention a couple of things that I find quite strange. We sign a contract, but after a month or 2 weeks, they want things to be changed. Like, I don't know where that is coming from. So now we agreed, you're coming to the office, it's an 8 to 5 job, but now all of a sudden they want to work remotely. So that's one of the strangest things that I've seen. And then there's a lot of need for therapy. Um, so they will want a mental health day. Like for us, we will not understand. Like you deal with your problems the way you deal with them, but they currently now there's need for that. I think that's the second one. The third one is they'll challenge you. You know, for us, when authority tells you to do something, you keep quiet, you do, like, you know, you weigh things, like you see, okay, this is not my time to speak. But for them, they'll challenge you. They'll ask you why. They'll, you know, they'll have answers. Like it's a strange thing, but they're here with us. So, and for me, I like the challenge. If you ask me a question, then I'm even like, you know, you're putting some thought into it. You're not a yes person. So, I mean, but they are just entering into the workplace. We should have some grace with them and just maybe guide them and mentor them and provide therapy services.
I can see Santa is burning. You want to contribute. Let's hear what Beatrice has to say about Gen Z.
Wow, so in my workplace, I'm literally the oldest person. So you can imagine all my team members are like below 28. So that obviously tells you a lot, right? So now, I like what you have said about embracing them. My only challenge is I struggle with people who are not disciplined and consistent. And I have learned to unlearn what I knew when I joined, Eskimi or my previous workplace. Because for me, it has been, things have to be done in a certain way, at a certain time, in a certain manner. And then you find this young man who is super talented. He's like graphic designer, engineer, 150% genius. Comes to work at 12, highly drunk, and then leaves at 3, and he'll not pick up your calls. And at that point, Safaricom, who is your biggest client, is on your neck. And you're like, excuse me, what do you mean? You went to what? So what I have learned in such circumstances and situations is to put them in a place where they are more productive. Be open-minded. Create hackathons, for instance. Create an open environment where they are free to share, free to give their output and live at their own leisure, because honestly they are going to live anyways. Whether you say, it's 8 to 5, they are going to live anyways. So create an environment that fosters work output to be done, regardless of whatever time they live. Encourage them to also, talk to the older generation so that you don't feel left out, as well as don't focus too much on the time and the day-to-day in terms of, rules, but on the output. And I think COVID actually taught us that when we had to work from home with our laptops and so on and Zoom calls. And we actually realized we don't need to be working 8 to 5. We only need maybe 5 hours of productive work, and the rest of the time you can do your side gig. Please, my boss, don't listen. But yeah, literally you can do your side job, and you're productive. I became more productive during COVID than previously, because I felt like you had to sit at your desk 8 to 5, literally just refreshing your email. Has the feedback come? But you're not doing anything. Whereas if you are just, purpose to do what you meant to do for that day and moved on to do other maybe we might even have more productive and innovative Kenyans if we focus on output than the day-to-day.
Focus on the output and be productive. Sandra.
I have a lot to say about this conversation. First of all, I'm a millennial, but a Gen Z at heart. And I'm working for a very fast-paced tech company that's a global company, right? That has, I think, I would say 50% of the employees I work with, or I work closely with, are Gen Zs. And I have a very contrary opinion. I think, as opposed to us thinking looking at Gen Zs as a problem, I think it's important for us millennials and boomers and X generation to leverage the Gen Zs because I think they have changed the ball game, and we want to maintain the status quo. Yet, Martin, I think the future of work is actually what Gen Zs are doing. They have taught us flexible working. They come to work and they challenge me. They challenge my leadership style. Then it stops becoming I am a leader and you are supposed to report to me. Then it becomes very balanced. What is your challenge? How can I help you? Which I think is what leadership should be. It should not be, I'm telling you to come at 8. It should be, tell me what times work with you, when are you best productive? Because productivity is very relative. There are people who are morning people, there are people who are evening people. And I think we need to really relook, work by, I think, number one, what you said, flexi working. How do we leverage their skills? Because already these people are very tech savvy. They are very bold. They would challenge you, they would challenge everything, which I think is an amazing thing because then it changes the dynamic of the workplace. When I think Tesla, when I think Google, when I think OpenAI, who have been the front runners of all this? Honestly, it's the Gen Zs. And it's the Gen Zs who are actually creating conversations around this. Who are the people who actually asked for the OpenAI CEO to come back? Or they will actually just start a coup, quote unquote. It's the Gen Zs, right? And he didn't eventually go to Microsoft. So I personally think that the Gen Zs are a force to reckon with. They could teach us more than what we could teach them. They have been the ones who have been the front runners of flexi working, and right now, most tech companies that I know, including mine, we embrace flexible working. We embrace you telling me that, Sandra, I'm a morning person. Is it okay for me to work between 6 a.m. and 11 a.m. and I will give you all the deliverables? And then can you cut me some slack after that? I'm cool with it because if that's the only way you will be productive, then I'm down. And I think employers and companies just need to embrace that because that's the future. Also, I think when it comes to leadership, personally, I think as somebody who is leading the Gen Z, one thing I've learned is that I now don't just feedback. I first listen to feedback, and I want to listen to them feedbacking me. It has, I think, made me a better leader. So I think we should look at Gen Zs as people we can leverage to learn a lot and to change our working environment for the betterment of the organization, as opposed to people who are a pain in you know what. But one thing I think I want to say that perhaps I would encourage the Gen Zs who are here that I have noticed myself, and I wouldn't even call it a problem, I would just call it an area of improvement, I would say, is instant gratification. I think I've seen most Gen Z who have come and they're like, oh my God, Sandra, I want everything that you have, or I want everything, but I keep telling them, you realize that I started this 11 or 12 years ago, right? So you can't be able to maybe drive a Benz tomorrow, and I know you're really, like, they are very eager, which is good. It's such a good trait, but the eagerness can also be very detrimental, especially if you want it very instantly, right? So I think that's an area of improvement. I would tell any Gen Z that, yeah, you may be a very good product manager today, but remember even Elon Musk took like 20 years to be where he is, and it is a journey. It's a journey. You can't get it tomorrow. I know you want it tomorrow, but it can't happen tomorrow. It's baby steps and it takes time. I think the instant gratification element is the only thing I would ask them to do, but don't change.
Sandra is an honest person. She said she has a lot to say about Gen Z. Now, Eric, Sandra talked about the future, and the future is artificial intelligence, and people are talking about generative AI and the impact that it will have on the digital skills. That we talked about content creators, but we're seeing some of the dynamics that generative AI is bringing into the workplace. What's your take on the future of digital skills? And we are privileged in our presence to have Ronald Okumu. Ronald is my friend, and he is an AI expert. So Ronald, as we get to the Q&A, will give you an opportunity to make your contribution on AI. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So it's an opportunity. I don't think AI is an enemy as such. Well, actually, you can collaborate with AI, right? And you can also use it for learning. right? So apart from collaboration, it makes work easier, right? You can use it for learning, and also you can use it basically to do away with repetitive tasks, right? It's so easy when things are automated. You don't have to take so much time to do something that a machine or an algorithm can do for you in a matter of seconds, right? Another thing is that AI can actually create jobs. The only people who are going to lose their jobs, let me tell you, the only people who are going to lose their jobs because of technology are people who don't use technology. It's sad, but it's true. So embrace it, right? Even companies that don't. Ito aramba, right? Right? So I'll give you an example. Kodak was one of the companies that actually, it was among the first that came up with this, is it called digital photography or something of that sort, right? But they didn't adopt it. What happened? They still continued using those old terms. What happened? Right? They died, right? Nokia, they're using, I think, Symbian. They didn't adopt to Android, right? So they missed all those opportunities just because they didn't see an opportunity to collaborate, to learn, to utilize for repetitive tasks, right? And that's what I will conclude by saying, like, AI is basically a friend. It's here to stay. It's like books, right? People used to fear books, especially in the Middle Ages. Like it wasn't open to everyone. But guys realized, okay, it's an important thing, right? So these things are here to stay. I think we can moderate it, and we can use it to our advantage.
Do you have, what's your take on AI and the future of jobs?
So for me, AI is very progressive. And if you're a youth watching, I would be thinking, what opportunity is there for me in terms of, so let me give you an example. For many years, we've been talking about internet penetration, smartphone penetration, and we thought it will take, like ages for it to catch up. Literally, in a span of 10 years, people had smartphones, people had, internet penetration, like, I want to believe almost 90%, regardless whether it's direct, whether you access through cyber cafe or you have a smartphone, 90% of Kenyans have access to internet. Now, fast track how fast internet in terms of social media has progressed. I think in a span of 2 years or 3 years, social media caught up. Now we are talking about ChatGPT. Now we are talking about AI in a span of 1 year, literally. And in a span of 2 months, we'll have a new innovation. So if I'm a youth, I'll be sitting thinking, Safaricom, Coke, FMCGs, what opportunity is there for me to create something innovative? And maybe literally you just need your mobile phone. You don't even need a MacBook, just a simple mobile phone to come up with a simple code, sell your story, pitch it, and you'll have the resources to achieve it. So I want to say it's very progressive, it's moving very fast, so you can't be thinking, oh, in 2 years they'll be ready for me. In 2 years, somebody will have already done whatever you are thinking and already progressed it to the next level.
With the issue around Gen Z, right? These guys are not aliens. They're actually humans. They're part of us. And for any certain employer out there, and I'm speaking to employers, like what really matters is to create a sense of belonging. And I'm going to default back to psychology. There's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you start with the physiological needs. So are you giving this to the employees, to these Gen Zs as well? Are you creating for them a sense of security? Do they feel secure? Are you creating for them a sense of belonging? Like, do they feel they're at home? And you can start with, let's say, the layout of your office. Do you have rules that support them? The existence, work from home. I think encouraging people to speak out. right? Self-actualization. What does their career path look like? I think Martin asked a question around, you know, content creators and all that. Like, will they be content creators forever? Will I be managing social media forever? What does my career path look like? Self-esteem and of course self-actualization. So you have to develop a culture at your workplace and paint this picture very, very well, right? And work collaboratively with these guys, because I tell you, they've got a lot to offer. Like you've heard me, the average age in Kenya is 19 years, and that's the future, right? And in marketing, people usually market to the younger generation. Why? Customer lifetime value. If I'm EABL, it doesn't make sense for me to come look for guys on the other edge of 35. I mean, they've already sorted out their drinks and all that. But I look for that guy who's going to give me money for the next like 60 years. That's why they spend on younger generation. That's why they do sports marketing. You'll notice, right? So I think employers also need to change tack and think like marketers. Like, how can we adopt you know, our work environment to this younger generation? But I believe they've got a lot to offer. For those guys, again, who are on the other side of 35, reverse mentorship. These guys have a lot to teach you. It was an honor being part of this panel, and I've definitely learned a lot, and would love to do it again. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, last one.
Thank you, and I need to speak to you about the solution. But I think 4 things for me, if you were to take away anything from me, I would ask to take these 4 things if you ever want to work in one of these big tech companies. A data-driven mindset is very important. It doesn't matter where you're at, whether you're doing English, social studies, politics, whatever the case might be. I think having a data-driven mindset will propel you to getting where you want to be from a tech perspective. And that has helped me. I'm inherently a PR person, Martin knows that, but it had to take me working at a tech company to really think data-driven. I could not have gotten where I'm at if I had not showcased my data-driven skills. What am I solving? So you're coming to PR to solve a crisis. Why do you think we have a crisis in the first place? Very, very weird questions and interesting. But I had to come in from a data perspective and marry it with perception to get where I'm at. That's number 1. Number 2, I would say emotional intelligence is very important in the current workspace that we are at. It's not just about you being a product developer. Like you said, I liked what you said, because I deal with a lot of internal stakeholders. You'll be very shocked. I'm in PR, but I think a lot with product people. I think a lot with data people. Actually, my day-to-day calls have to do with a data person, because I need to know where we are at as a company, how many numbers are we doing, what am I communicating out there based on the numbers we have, how am I using that data to inform the opinions that I want to address out there, and what I want you to consume, you know, based on the data I have internally. I think it's very important, and that just goes about how do you collaborate with other departments, how do you work with other people, how do I work with a performance marketer, how do they work with me as a PR person? There's a perception and the narrative I want to push. You as a data person, you're just thinking data, how do we work together to marry these two? So I think emotional intelligence is very important, especially in corporate and a tech company at that, because you will meet very many people who are super smart. I'm working with very smart individuals, not only in Kenya, in Europe, in Germany, in Estonia, everywhere, and you will be asked very difficult questions, and you have to have a lot of emotional intelligence to address that. The 3rd thing, I think I would say, critical thinking is very important if you want to take up the, tech space. And sometimes I think of even my daughter, and you know how they ask why. The one thing I think, there's a book I read, and if you want to be a proper critical thinker, out of any questions you ask within the workspace, at least have 5 whys to those questions. So by the time someone is, if I'm coming to you to do a task for me, it's okay for you to ask me, Sandra, why? And I'll tell you, then keep asking, we will find a solution, and then we will even figure, are we really actually wanting to solve this, or are we just doing this because we want to pass time? So I think critical thinking and asking the 5 whys for any problem you want to solve is very important. And I think those are the 3, I think, key elements I would want to highlight.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra. Betty?
All right. So for me, I have only one takeaway for the youth watching. How do you present yourself? So I work for a global company. We have presence in more than 10 countries globally, not just in Africa. So it's my job to learn the cultural nuances of my bosses who sit in Lithuania, my colleagues in Nigeria, my team in Kenya, in Uganda, and so on. Because when you go for that job interview, you know, in Kenya we are very casual, Gen Z, we are used to seeing you in ragged, you know, jeans and everything. But in another country that would be weird and off.
Position yourself as a global talent. First of all, look at countries that it's easy to penetrate. Just go to Goethe Institute and start learning German. That's one thing. The other thing I've told you, just go to job sites in those countries, and if you are, let's say, for example, a graphic designer, check the niche skills. What I've noticed is Kenyans, we want to be generalists, and we just want to do bare minimum. If you're a graphic designer, Adobe, that's all. But you have to, you're competing with somebody who's in India, because those countries are, when they're coming to now positioning themselves as global talent, they're the ones now who, like India, Vietnam, they're the ones who are now positioning themselves in those countries. But now you are in Kenya now, and you want to fight for that one job in a scheme. Yet, there are like 50 jobs in Germany, and they can easily take you. And you just need to upskill. You don't really need, especially in Europe, you don't need to have a degree. I remember we were recruiting for mechanical engineers in Germany, and everybody had a degree. So, short story, we did a lot of hard work. Nobody, like, we spent money, but nobody was taken. It was a good experiment. But what they told us is, yes, you are very educated as Kenyans and Africans, but you lack the skill. So for them, they're looking for the skill itself. So look at the language skill, and then you also want to go to those countries to get, you want to get, a good job, the same job you'd get in Kenya. So things have changed. So I would maybe just want you to position yourself. If you need support, I can give you some job sites where you can go and just look at the jobs they're recruiting. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I can give you all the job sites. But I really liked the way he put it. I didn't know those countries didn't have a millennial and Gen Z issue, but now it makes sense. Because even for us as a HR company, they're approaching us to recruit for them, which maybe like 6 years ago, that would not have been the case. We're also managing a company which is based in Finland and India, and we are the HR people. So something is happening. So we need to take advantage of that. Yeah.
Have you learned something new tonight? So help me in appreciating the panelists. A better clap. So thank you very much for spending time with us. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, your skills and experiences. This has been a great session. I've also learned a lot, and I know people here have also learned a lot. I want to stand on the protocol that have been said before, and also just the knowledge that has been shared. I think one of the things as a country we really need to take advantage of is our potential as global citizens. And what that means is, if you look at our economy has been based primarily on production. We run an 11 trillion economy. When you look at the GDP function, how many of us, okay, I don't want to go into a lot of boring statistics. It's a Friday evening, we all want to do sherehe kidogo. But if you look at a normal economy, you'll see there's production, there are guys who are in construction, there are guys who are in manufacturing, there are guys who are in advertising and all of that. But at the base of all of this is skills, and skills that drive those particular sectors. So in our country, we do have a lot of agriculture. We do have lots and lots of construction. That's about 13% of our economy. We do have exports, which forms from agriculture, blah, 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 about another 10%. But a very interesting statistic that is beginning to show up is remittance. So out of 11 trillion, just a small fact that may not be of a lot of value for us, the government spends 3.3 trillion, isn't it? So the rest is all produced by the private sector, isn't it? So government is doing 3.3 trillion, so we have a gap of about 9 trillion being done by private sector. Of that 9 trillion, what we are producing from abroad as export, because money is coming into the country, is close to $500 billion. You spoke about Philippines. Philippines is doing close to maybe about 3 trillion in money that they're sending from abroad. So we have a huge gap. And one of the things that the current government has really positioned to do is to have export of labor as a key area. So for you guys, it's, and for some of the people who are listening, it's a huge opportunity. You can be able to work from here in other parts of the world. You can be able to travel to other parts of the world. In the Philippines, they actually do a red carpet. By the time you're coming in from wherever you're working from, you're actually welcomed in on a red carpet. I don't know how that will work with KRA, but so think about it for the guys who are out there thinking about a career, like what you said about your progress and all of that. Think about working abroad and the opportunity that presents to you. It's a huge opportunity, the opportunity for you to benchmark with your peers in other parts of the world. China, maybe about a third of the population works in other parts of the world. India, I'm sure all of you have studied with Indian friends, guys who came from Gujarat, from all manner of parts of India. Bombay, that kind of thing. As Kenya, we are a small population of about 50 million people. We can be able to power the rest of the world, and I believe that's where opportunity lies. Thank you very much, and asante.